for a lot of moms, if you have a husband, let's say, who's involved in a team at work and they're having offsites and they're talking about like, oh, how do we get there and how do we grow the business or how do we help our department or whatever's going on there. And he's feeling like a part of a team and he's all stirred up. That is oftentimes how you lose your husband and he accidentally switches teams. This is why I'm always telling wives, please don't discourage a process like this. And dads, please engage your family in a process like this because this is so unifying.
Hi, welcome to the Family Teams podcast. Our goal here is to help your family become a multi-generational team on mission by providing you with biblically rooted concepts, tools, and rhythms. Your hosts are Jeremy Pryor and Jefferson Bethke, and we can't wait to chat about all things family.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with my lovely wife, April. April, how you doing today?
Hello. I'm good.
Yeah.
Doing well. Y'all excited for our November of birthdays and Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Very exciting time.
Yeah. Very busy month for us. We've got, we had a big men's event that we were part of. And then we went into, I just got back from my discipleship kickoff. So April and I both do that when we start and launch discipleship groups. And then we've got a big family mission summit for others that we're going to be leading in our house next week. And what we're going to talk about today with you guys is the drum roll, the new theme for the accelerator for the month of December. So in the month of November, we've talked about Christmas because we're getting ready for December. But in December, we talk about family summits to get you guys ready for your annual family team summit that you guys can pull off. Oftentimes, the best time to do this is either between Christmas and New Year's when you have some time on your hands and are able to really look back and think and reflect, or you can do this the first week of January. Those are kind of the times to me that are like really natural to do a family summit. So we want to help you guys understand how to do this. So this is what we're doing. How long have we been doing our family summits? April, do you remember?
Wow. It's been probably like maybe 12 years,
Yeah.
10 or 12 years.
Yes. Oof. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
In our 12 years. And so we'll walk through some of the things we've learned now. A couple of things you guys need to know. Number one, if you go to familyteams.com/summit, you will get our free download on how to do family summits. Also, if you join the accelerator, you get the full 14-page guide. So what I find to be most helpful for people when they are going through a summit is to have, especially if this is new to you, a very clear guide. And so our friends, Blake and Chandler Smith, are going to be on. They wrote the guide. Blake and Chandler are really excited about how to do these things. They've actually hosted these kind of annual summits for other groups of couples. I think they did one in like a whole group in Puerto Rico. They've really thought about this. Blake is my favorite person when it comes to running meetings. I don't know how many of you guys know how to run really good meetings. That is not my spiritual gift. I try really, really hard, but Blake is amazing at it. And so I would love for you guys to hear from Blake and Chandler about how they have done this. And so they wrote the 14-page guide that will walk you step by step through how to do like an epic annual summit. But what April and I are going to do is kind of unpack the 12 years of experience we have of running our family's annual summit. And to start with, April, what do you remember? Like where, like I'm curious on the where. What are some of the places? Because one of the things I think is really important is to find the right location for a
Yeah.
annual summit.
I remember one year we went to an Airbnb. I can't remember where it was, but it was kind of out in the country. And we brought my parents with us. And they hung out with the younger ones while we included the older ones in portions of our summit. And then some of it was just you and I. And my parents were there to watch the kids and whoever we weren't meeting with at the time. So that was really fun. It was just a getaway out in the country, and we brought help to help with the kids. Um, that was like the first one I remember.
Yeah.
I think that's the oldest one that I can remember.
Yeah. I don't remember one before that one.
So yeah, and we've done hotels where like locally, we got a really nice hotel one time that was fun and 2 adjoining rooms. I did some of the meetings in the room and then some of the meetings in the hotel restaurant. Um, and some of them we just coffee shop hopped and like would have one portion of it in a coffee shop that has like a conference room, and then a coffee shop that has like just like a larger area we took over, and because our family really likes coffee shops. So then one that has a view, one that's more internal with bookshelves. So we kind of hopped around and just did different. I think that helps with like the spatial memory of going through like different portions of the summit.
Yeah. Yeah, this can be tricky because some of you guys, your kids are really young, and the only way you're gonna do an annual summit is just the 2 of you. Then you have the mixed kind of family where you have older kids that could participate, but then you got younger kids you gotta watch, and that's kind of where we started, and that's why April's parents came along, and that allowed us to really engage with each of our kids. I remember, um, while our kids were journaling on the goals they wanted to set for that next year, we got to do like me and April would do like 2-on-1s with each of the older kids and kind of walk through what they were seeing, what they were sensing, what was kind of like bubbling up in terms of things they wanted to think and dream about. And it really got our kids dreaming. I think our kids are real dreamers, and they realize that they can have a meeting like this, have a dream, and then all of a sudden it starts to come into fruition. That is when you get really excited, and that's when these summits, sometimes if they're just sort of an exercise in wishful thinking, it can get really discouraging. But if
Yeah.
they actually start to change the whole trajectory of the family to align with a vision, and some of those are individual visions that members of the family is having, and some of those are like group discussions where you're like, hey guys, let's dream about this next year. But man, if you're a part of a business and you're a part of a leadership team in a company, this is totally normal. You will do this kind of thing. You'll have quarterly meetings, you'll have annual
Yeah.
offsites. Why don't we do this as families? Why don't we take all of that skill, if you've ever been a part of those things, and point those at the family? And again, if you don't have that skill, you've never done this before, this is a totally new category. In the accelerator, what we do is you sign up for the month, and during the first week, we give you the guide, the full playbook for how to lead one of these. During the second week, and this will be the second week of December, you'll get to interact with Blake and Chandler, and they'll talk you through any questions you guys have as you prepare for your summit. The third week, you're going to get a tutorial from me in April. We're going to walk through in some specific details, like with the tools that we use, and we're going to be unpacking a little bit in this podcast. And then the fourth week, we always do a town hall where you get to talk to us and our kiddos about whatever is on your mind. So that's the accelerator. It's a full month in the life of the Family Teams Accelerator. So go to familyteams.com and check out Accelerator. But yeah, so the where is really important. I want to take a step back, April, and just talk about the why. I kind of shared a little bit of, I know we can see why a business would do this, but how would you answer like a mom who's like, what? That seems weird. Why would a family do like an annual offsite or a summit?
Yeah. I think it's very easy to let life take over, and circumstances or situations that you're facing become what dictates your time and your energy. And I know we talk about that a lot in family teams with rhythms and things like that. And I think once you've started living into a rhythm, maybe for a year or two, you start to realize like the benefits of how you're able to like have a more peaceful life. You might be accomplishing more than you would have otherwise. And you're starting to have some intentional purpose around your rhythm that you feel a little bit more in charge of. And then I think it's like a natural progression to realize that, like, wow, okay, if we can live this weekly rhythm, that we're doing well, like 70% of the time, then maybe we could have a little bit of hope towards this idea of like taking some more intentionality in our life. And so I think a great time to do that is at the new year, when you have the whole year ahead of you and you can think of these things. It used to kind of overwhelm me as a mom because I'm like, we can plan as much as we want to plan, but do we know if it's actually going to come true? And so that would kind of discourage me to even we even started trying. But I think it's one of those things, if you give yourself the permission to set something up and then realize that even if we only hit 50% of these ideas, it kind of gets the juices flowing for what it could be. And you can improve on it year after year. But it also is like, that's 50% more than you would have done without doing the annual summit. So I have to kind of, I don't know if it's being a mom of young children when your days can be unpredictable based on sickness or bad attitudes or whatever. Or if it's just like kind of getting used to the way a rhythm can positively impact your life.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, I think this is the place where you kind of take a big step back and say, are we on track? Like, how are we doing? How is this last year? What are some maybe big dreams and goals? Or also what are some maybe big obstacles or challenges? You can cause maybe kids who are struggling like with attitude or whatever. Sometimes they don't know the why. There's a great, quote that I think is so important to understand how so many of us are wired, and that is he who knows why can bear almost any how. I think Nietzsche was the first one to say that. But I think the thing I love about that is it's important to understand some family members are extremely why driven. And you're going to have kids that are that way. I am that way for sure. And it does help everyone. Like, oh, there's a bigger vision here. One of my favorite quotes, Stephen, on this topic, Stephen Covey, who wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He also wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. And he said, good families, even great families, are off track 90% of the time. The key is that they have a sense of destination. They know what the track looks like, and they
Hmm.
keep coming back to it time and time again. So I think that I find this really encouraging because number one, if you're off track 90% of the time and you still are getting to the destination, that's really encouraging for a family. But you
Yeah.
do have to, and he says it requires you to know where the track is. And so this is where this is sort of like the compass realignment for the family. If there's one time a year we remind each other and ourselves where we're headed, we want to get back on that track. It's like if you think about an airplane that's taking off, if you're just 3 degrees off, then you'll end up if you're going from LA to I think James Clear mentioned this in his book Atomic Habits. It's just three degrees off. You'll end up in Washington D.C. if you're aimed at like New York. Um, but that's okay if
Wow.
you are 3 degrees off and you get back on track like while you're still in the air. Like you can get to your destination, but you are going to be off track a lot, and you need to recalibrate. Right, you got to find that track. So part of what happens during these, and we'll walk you guys through all the different tools that you can use to find the track, to reinforce the track through using a family mission summit. But that's a big why. And so some the people who are why driven oftentimes are very motivated by vision, and so to have
Yeah.
that conversation and realize, whoa, I'm a part of something. And and I think for a lot of moms too, if you have a husband, let's say, who's involved in a team at work and they're having offsites and they're talking about like, oh, how do we get there? And how do we like grow the business? Or how do we, help our department or whatever's going on there? And he's feeling like a part of a team and he's all stirred up for, that is oftentimes how you lose your husband and he accidentally switches teams. And this is why I'm always telling wives, please don't discourage a process like this. And dads, please engage your family in a process like this because this is so unifying. Because when a father says and when a father and mother come together, when a husband and wife say, "Look, we're going to actually put some real intentional energy, at least as much energy as a business would have in trying to sell a product. We want to guide our family into the vision that God has for us." Like that's how a team really coheres. And that's how you become a different kind of family. You're not going to get there by accident. You have to do intentional things. And this is just a simple tool once a year. It's not a massive heavy lift. But part of this is I want to talk to you guys about how to make this really, really fun. So we're going to dive into that in a second. But April, I want to hear any thoughts on the why, or that you would say to a mom was like, "Ooh, why would we do
Yes.
this?"
Yeah, I think it's almost like a selfish thing, honestly, to want to do this because um there it's very hard to find time and it's very hard to find a way sometimes to talk about what you need as the mom. You know, with like I said earlier, like the kids' needs oftentimes trump your own, or you're trying to, you're sacrificing so much for the family that it is really hard to learn how to, like, say, "Hey, I need a break," or if there's a way that I could do something that would help me, recharge a little bit more, like, I'm not feeling recharged, I'm not feeling like I'm feeling really discouraged, or I'm feeling overwhelmed or whatever. This is a tool that could really help with that. because there's a section in there where you get to talk about yourself. Like, how are you doing spiritually? How are you doing intellectually? How are you doing, like, where are these things, that are you missing some ingredients that would help you? That's something that you could, and I'm not talking about New Year's resolutions. I'm just talking about things that you could fit into your weekly rhythm, or an opportunity that you'd like to see happen, um, in the coming year, like an event or something like that, that would be life-giving to you and maybe a little different than what you've done in the past, that could help give you life. And so from that aspect, I feel like it's really a positive thing for moms to do, so that they can kind of have a um, I don't know, like a reason or a motivation to, like, plan ahead and not feel bad or guilty that you're taking some time to, rejuvenate, but it's something that we planned at the summit, and now it's 4 months later and it's time for this thing or whatever. So I think it's really a great time to think about yourself and what you need, because so much of the rest of the year, we are really, prioritizing a lot of, everyone else's needs. So getting that in place at the beginning kinda helps it, maybe come true a little bit more throughout the year.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this is such a win-win. Okay, now, so that's the why. We're going to talk through a few other elements of the why. As you guys see, as you guys will hear the way we do this, we start with a evening of reflection, and then we go into lots of journaling about how to envision a better future. Are there edits we want to make to our rhythm? And so I want to talk first of all about the first night. So if you the simplest way I think to do a summit, the way we've done it is we have a like an evening of reflection, and then we have a day of planning. That's kind of the two ways, the two elements of what our typical summit looks like. So I find the evening of reflection to be one of the highlights of the whole year for our family. And so what we do is we will go to wherever we're doing the summit, and we'll spend some time basically like writing down um, usually any kind of major highs from each quarter of the year, highs and lows, and we'll just kind of like gather those in one spot. And so we'll go back and we have our calendars, we have our journals, we have photos, we have like our phones, and we can look at like the different dates on the photos. We have our weekly rhythm, and we have all these things. And so we're just like kind of whiteboarding, or all of us are journaling out what are some of the big highlights from each quarter one of last year, quarter two. So that's probably the easiest way to do it. And so we look at those. We ask questions about like how did that quarter impact these five capitals April mentioned: spiritual, relational, physical, intellectual, financial. Like, any reflections on that? And then how did our family culture like fare through these things? So we kind of just like think about what are the big milestones of this last year. And so once we have all those, everyone's got those journals. Then we go out to a really nice dinner. And so we sit, and usually we'll find like a nice quiet restaurant where we're sitting like in a big circle around a table, or a nice big booth or something like that. We'll have a nice dinner. And we'll just go around, and usually starting with the youngest and then going up to the oldest, we just share, like what was something from quarter one, and just like all the memories, and it just really brings to the surface like what this year all represented for our family. And it helps us really understand how far we've come, how much we've experienced, creates this just swelling up of gratitude for what happened. So yeah, give a little more color, April, to what is the reflection evening like, and what's that experience like, and what do you think that does to our and for our family?
Yeah, I think it's obviously it, depends on the ages of your kids. As our kids got older, they all participated in this pretty, actively. When the younger ones were littler, they would have different activities. We would just have them kinda doing some activities off to the side, but then, listening to what everyone was sharing. So, it definitely was fun to have it be a family, something we wanted all the kids to be able to participate in as quickly as possible. The retreat where we had my parents come help, they were a part of that as well, so they could enjoy the reflection time with us. Like, there's all these ways I would love to embellish that time, that I just never got around to, with, like, wouldn't that be amazing if I already had the whole year's slideshow ready, or I take what we did at that time and then turn it into a slideshow or something like that. So I still have ambition to do things, like ways to improve and iterate on what we currently have, but, um, sometimes it's a nice restaurant if your kids can handle, being at a restaurant for a good amount of time, just being able to laugh and reflect, and sometimes there's hard things that we, have to, reflect on or process through or, decide to repent and move on from, and it can be a really sweet time of working through something that's, like, sticking out kinda like a thorn as you're, in the reflection time.
Yeah. So a couple ways to do this. So I think probably the most recent way we've done this is we'll journal the top 2 to 3 wins of each quarter, have the dinner, and the next day often we will do the 5 capitals, and that involves reflection and goal setting. So that's kind of how we've done the planning day. So an example is probably the most epic version of this is we've done a couple years down in Orlando in Disney
Mm.
World, and it's not about going to the parks. A lot of people don't realize that you can walk right into the resorts. There's something like 10, just crazy themed out resorts with amazing, restaurants and lobbies and things like that. And so if you get on your little Disney Experience app and book a restaurant at, let's say, one of the boardwalk resorts, which is a separate section, you can then park there and spend the day at a much more private and much less crowded and completely free in terms of like admission area of the resort. And so it's very cold and kind of like miserable in Cincinnati around this time of year. And so sometimes we'll head down to Orlando. Now, this is what you can picture happens during so the reflection dinner is we've got our 2 to 3 big wins or milestones from each of the 4 quarters. All 5 of our kids have shared, and they've kind of processed what that is, and we're like feeling great. Go to bed. Next morning, get up. Everybody's got a journal. We head to wherever we're going to go, and like April said, we've done coffee shop, hopping. We've done this in a particular nice hotel in town. We've done this at Airbnbs, and we've done this, down at resorts like Disney World. And so what we'll
We
do
were in
is,
Jerusalem one year.
oh yeah, yeah, that's epic. Yeah, why don't you guys just get on a
That was pretty
plane,
epic.
go to Jerusalem and do your summit there? Highly recommend it. No, that's not very
It's
realistic.
because we were doing a tour there, and we decided just to go a couple days early
Oh, that's
and do
right.
our summit, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't
Oof.
go there just for our summit.
Yes. Yes, yeah, big asterisk. So what happens in this case is what we'll do is, so let's say we find a really cozy spot to sit and journal, and then we'll give our kids, and me and April will do this. And again, you can do this just the 2 of you if your kids are too little, but just like let's go through these, and we have a question for each. So the spiritual, we always start with the most important, which is spiritual. How have you grown your relation with God and in your faith in the gospel? So we'll journal on that. And then is there any goals, or how would you like to improve in that area? So we reflect and improve. That's kind of the planning. And so the second one is relational. Are the most important relationships in your life growing in health and intimacy? Physically, how well do you take care of your body, your physical fitness? Intellectual, what intentional activities deepened your wisdom and understanding this year? Financial, is our financial house in order as we seek to reduce debt, control spending, and grow income? So we'll work through these things together. Our kids, to whatever extent they can contribute to trying to
Mm.
reflect on these things. So it's just a fun process of like journaling and talking. um, and and then the biggest result, that if you're having a conversation and you're stirring up something like, hey, I am struggling a lot in this area. Um, Instead of just setting goals, we're really big into editing our family's rhythm or the individual rhythms of our kids. So I have this is the problem with a lot of New Year's resolutions. We focus on goals, and we don't actually design a system to accomplish the goals. And if you have the choice between, like, goals are great as long as they work their way into a system, and the system that we often recommend that families run on is to really focus on the 7-day rhythm, because it forces you to do the trade-offs. You could say, yes, I would like to work out 5 days a week. I'm going to be like buff after the end of this year. Okay, that's the kind of like goal that anybody gets excited about in a New Year's resolution, and then 5 days into the year, they're like, oh, like I'm really busy every morning and afternoon, or haven't planned to actually succeed in that area. And so You haven't faced the real trade-offs. Like, oh, if I get up at 4:30 in the morning, we can't keep watching a movie every night till 11 p.m. So you have to sit down and actually work on the rhythm and say, okay, we got to face these really difficult trade-offs. Scott Adams is sort of famous for the distinction between goals and rhythms. He says a goal is a specific objective that you either achieve or don't sometime in the future. A system is something you do on a regular basis that increases your odds of happiness in the long run. If you do something every day or every week, it's a system. If you're waiting to achieve it someday in the future, it's a goal. If you achieve your goal, you celebrate and feel terrific, but only until you realize you just lost the thing that gave you purpose and direction. There's a real weird hidden problem with goals when they're not filtered into a system. And the system, like we said, that we run our family on, that the biggest system is our 7-day rhythm. So, April, as we have done this kind of journaling, planning, reflecting on the 5 capitals, again, these are spiritual, relational, physical, intellectual, financial. Yeah, any thoughts about how that's gone?
Yeah, I think, it takes a lot of time and a lot of emotional energy sometimes for me to do this kind of reflection. So, that's why I'm glad we changed locations and there's often coffee involved. It helps a lot, but I think it's really worth the work. Every once in a while, there'll be an occasion for me to go back and read it, but mostly it's like doing the actual work is what helps kind of solidify in my heart and mind what it is that the Lord is up to in my own life. And, you know, we are told to remember, and so we do that weekly with Shabbat, but then also, like, getting to reflect upon a whole year and look at the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living and, maybe ways that we have been disobedient or lazy, are ways that we can, this kind of reflection time really kind of brings those things to the surface if you're being really honest with yourself. And so I think that that's, kind of spoiler, it's hard work, this kind of thing. It's not necessarily like all fun and games. So if you think like, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so much fun," maybe it is, maybe it will be for some people, but I feel like for me, there is a certain amount of hard work when I'm, y doing that kind of introspection and forcing myself to, like, write it out. Sometimes we write it out, like, on a computer, and sometimes we're writing it out in a journal depending on the setup that we're in, but, teaching our kids, I think this is one thing that's interesting is teaching our kids to do this year after year as they have gotten married, um, watching them learn how to incorporate this into their life, or just like these skills of introspecting on paper and things like that. It's a really great skill to hand to your kids as they enter into their adult life and can learn how to articulate what it is that they have that has happened in the past and appreciate it and mull over it and ask the Lord if there's, am I sure that I got everything out of this that you wanted me to? As I look forward to this next year and little tweaks I want to make in my rhythm or things I want to learn how to believe differently about, it helps propel you forward, I would say.
Yeah, super helpful, right? Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why we use the word summit. It's like you are getting
Yeah.
this is supposed to be you're on a mountaintop and you can see farther in the back and you can see farther ahead. So you
Yeah.
want to create an environment, a peaceful kind of space for you and other family members to be able to do that, like that far looking. And that's hard to do in the midst of the day-to-day challenges and
Yeah.
craziness. So we want to get
Yeah. I
above it all.
that That's another reason we really encourage a getaway, this being, somehow getting away because if you try to stay home and do this, I think it would be very maybe you'd have to because you just had a new baby or there's some, like, medical reason that you would need to stay close to home or something. If you can even just get into a hotel nearby or, ask a friend if you can, like, house swap or something like that, because if finances are an issue, because getting out of your environment where you get so stuck in the day to day could just be really helpful.
Yeah. All right, last piece that I wanted to mention to you guys, and then is that we try to do a review of our family's culture by looking at our family's vision, our mission statement, and our pillars. These are our, our
Mhm.
values as a family. And so we like take some time and, print those out, give them to each of the kids. Me and April look at them. We all get kind of separate and we work on like, is this true? Are we living into these? Is there a way to improve these? It's really important that these be working documents, that we're not, carving in stone some of these things. We don't want to edit them constantly, but is this still true? And if it is true and we believe this, then are we living into it? So, and that often will be kind of the final meal we will have in our family summit, and just talk about that very openly. Like, we're going to come together, have a conversation. How are we doing? How's our family culture? How are we achieving our family mission? Are we living into these values? Are they still a good reflection of what our family is called to do and called to be? And this is kind of that moment where we are making sure that the plane is on track. And if there's some adjustments we need to make, and say, can we diagnose why this isn't working? Is there a way for us to, again, not just be aspirational, but maybe we need to go and look at our rhythm and how we actually invest our time and our money, and say, we need to shift something here. Like, we're not actually living into this
Yeah.
properly. So that's kind of the final part of the summit. And then we're like, lock and load for another year. So we've made, we've done our reflecting. We've really thought about the 5 capitals. We've thought about our family culture. We've edited our family's weekly rhythm, made sure that our systems align with our mission, our values, and these goals that we feel called to. So,
Yeah.
Anything else you'd add to that, April?
Yeah, I would just say, like, I think this sets you up for a year of, um, not having to tweak your rhythm every week or every month, like, allowing yourself to, like, lean into this new thing that you just kind of tweaked or maybe created for the first time, your rhythm, and just letting it play itself out throughout the year. And maybe you would need to, by like month 9 or 10, you're wanting to like really tweak a few things. You can't really wait till the new year. That's fine, of course. But just allowing yourself the space and the freedom to try the new thing for a while, I think is a really good idea, so that you don't feel like if you know that the annual summit's coming and you're in October and you're like, "Oh, this one thing's driving me nuts, but I know the annual summit's coming. I'll wait till then." It can kind of settle your heart and let you just enjoy the rest of the year, and then be able to I start making a list of the things I wanna bring up, as they come to my mind, and then I hold off, though, and wait until the summit to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be in that kind of mind space where you can really
Yeah,
make major decisions, or major shifts to the family. And
yeah,
that's what this time's for. And we need these reflective times to evaluate and to make sure that we're pushing forward. So awesome. Well, you guys, again, if you want to get the free download, go to familyteams.com/summit and you can grab that. If you would like to join the accelerator for the month of December, we would love to help prep you for your upcoming family summit. So make sure you jump into the podcast next week. You'll hear from Blake and Chandler. But you go to familyteams.com and just click on accelerator if you want to join us for the month of December. Our community coaches will be Blake and Chandler. April and I will be on there with some of our kiddos, and we would love to see how this goes. So this one of the fun things about being a part of a whole family teams community, and that's really what the accelerator is I can't wait to see all the pictures pop up
yeah.
from people doing their summits, giving everyone else like the encouragement. Whoa, like this is where you guys did it. Or like this is going to be such a fun month to be hanging out in the accelerator with us. Cool. Well, thanks so much, April, for jumping on here today. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Family Teams podcast. If you're enjoying this content or have learned something new, please make sure to leave a rating and review and share with a friend. To stay up to date with our events, new content, and products, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Family Teams.